All right. So as we are now in the midst of the coronavirus quarantine, whatever we want to call it, if anything, I think it's given us a good opportunity to take a step back and look at our business and see, okay, what can I do to grow it long term? Because at the end of the day, success is not about what happens day to day. It's about the seeds we plant and the long term strategies we put together. So that's why I'm excited today to bring on somebody who is a good friend of mine, who is an expert when it comes to building brands. So Scott, thanks for coming on. I got here Scott
Yeah.
Voelker from the Amazing Seller podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is good. No, I think there's a lot to talk about, but, I like to shed the positive light, not the negative
Hmm.
light. So, I think that's the direction I want to go because you know what, we can
Hmm.
all sit here and have a pity party, but we got to actually figure out what we're going to do moving forward. And, I like to look at the bucket of, the opportunity and see in the business where the holes are. And let's just go ahead and let's plug the holes and learn from this. Um, I mean, we've all experienced, things in our life that I think opened our eyes, and I think this is one of
Hmm.
them. It's one of those things too, Kev. I think that you've heard the saying, or when people say it, it's like, if I never would have lost my job, I never would have did this.
Mm,
Man, imagine if I never lost my job. Imagine if I never got laid off. Imagine if I never got
right.
fired. Imagine if I never was so mad at my coworkers that I decided I needed to quit. Right? And I never would be where I am because of that thing. So I look at this as like one of those things. It sucks, but in
Right.
the same breath, we gotta figure it out.
Yeah, that's so true because, at the end of the day, in a year from now, it's going to be a year from now. So if we
Mhm.
spend, the next month or two just having a pity party, we're not doing ourselves any good. So we got to focus on what can we do to grow and get ahead. I
Mhm.
think that's really the way to look at it. So I like the way you phrase that.
Yeah.
So what are you doing right now in your own business to kind of look at like, okay, what are the things I should do to move forward?
Well, right now I'm trying to share this in our group, so give me a minute.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that as
And I will
well.
elaborate on that. Because you actually bring up a good point because there are a lot of things that you can do. What should you do? But I think it does. A lot of times it comes down to um, not just like what am I doing right now? It's like what am I forecasting? And it's really hard because we can't really forecast like 100%. But kind of like back to what I said, like I'm experiencing just like everyone else, like the sales on Amazon are declined, right? Like
Right.
right now um, because obviously we have we have a little bit of an issue here with trying to get products into Amazon or
Hmm.
our supplier or any of that stuff. So, I mean, for me personally, I look at it as the things that we're doing is we're basically not so much worrying about the physical product side. There's only so much that we can do. Right?
Hmm.
Our hands are tied in that part. So so because of that, we're not really only focusing on like, okay, our supplier, are they able to release the product to us? They are, good, send it, right?
Hmm.
Um, you know, can we switch over to FBM versus FBA so that way there we can ship the product if we have some in our own warehouses?
Hmm.
Yes, we can do that. But once you kind of cover those things, like what else do you do? And here's another thing that, I think a lot of people should be doing is if you can't send an inventory right now to Amazon for whatever reason, every morning you should be checking because I've heard people be, one day not, and the next day they are, and then the next day
Hmm.
they can't, and the next day they can. So it's kind of like they're opening it up and then closing, opening up and closing. So like
Right.
your morning routine should be like, let me see if I can get in, right? And if I can, quick make that order.
Right.
So just like little things like that to shore up that part of it. But to be honest with you, I mean, I'm pretty much experiencing what everyone else is too. I mean, we have a drop in sales. Our supplier isn't able to get us inventory like we want. We're out of inventory on one of our main sellers right now. That sucks. But on the positive side, our traffic is up on the site. We're making money through ads coming through our site.
Right.
Affiliate sales can still be happening. Our email list is still building. Every day we're getting 25 to 50 new email addresses every single day still since this whole thing. So I'm looking at that side of it. And I'm not really, the other stuff, there's only so much I can do. Like that's it, right? Like there's only so much you can do. Now we got to start working on being, like more proactive, as far as like what can we do. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase that. So it's kind of like you're doing the things like, maybe in the morning you got a little routine to check on, what are the things I can do that's kind of a band-aid on the situation,
Yep.
like checking to see if you could ship in inventory, checking to see if something has changed to your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But then at a certain point, you can't just sit around and wait for that. You got to start planting the seeds for the future because, when you look at it, if I take the, companies like Disney,
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh.
IBM, all these huge companies, they all have one thing in common. They were started in a recession or a depression.
Mm-hmm.
And, Apple, a lot of people actually credit a lot of their success to in 2001 when there was a downturn in the economy and Steve Jobs rolled out the iPod. And that's what set them on to their trajectory. So the things we do now may not have that immediate growth, but it could be your iPod,
Mm-hmm.
your whatever the case is that gets you going for the future. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I know you've done a really great job of is creating this brand that you alluded to, that you're getting affiliate sales and you're getting advertising revenue, so revenue that's not e-commerce specific. So it's
Mm-hmm.
about having the traffic, it's not
Yep.
necessarily about having the product.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about someone who's like, okay, that sounds interesting to me, where would I even start?
Well, here's the I don't want to call it a problem, but I'm going to say like the issue for a lot of people, especially if they're coming from the e-commerce world.
Mm-hmm.
So e-commerce world is always like, okay, I get this thing, this
Right.
tripod, and I find someone that wants to buy one and I sell it. Right? Like
Right.
that's how it works, right? Like it's like product, someone needs it, sell them.
Mm-hmm.
Um the way that I like to look at it, and I think any business can benefit from this, is if you have traffic, opportunities to increase sales on your product go up.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities of selling additional things that aren't even yours, being an affiliate for a product,
Mm-hmm.
go up. Having traffic also allows you to possibly do sponsorships on your web traffic, another
Mm-hmm.
line of revenue there. And then the other one would be if you can create a digital product of some kind, whether that's an ebook, whether that's a little mini training, a little course. Like there's a lot of opportunity out there. The problem is, I just said problem again, but it is for a
Right.
lot of people, is because
The hoop.
because they don't see the long-term benefits of doing that. Because if I put, like, give you an example, we've been building 2 brands inside of Brand Creators Academy, and
Right.
they're just about at the 6-month mark. Right now, we're starting to see the hockey stick where it's not generating money yet, but the traffic is increasing. So like last month, we did an update on the one brand and we had over 7,800 page views, meaning, people went through and looked at all of our pages and stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that is what an ad network looks at. The other brand almost hit 14,000. It was 13,000, like 980, something like that. And those brands were all started through content. So each of them have about 100 pieces of content on them. And what I mean by that is like like dropping seeds out there in your market. And I just did I've been doing these coffee talks in the morning, and I had a person come on and they were like, I want to sell my cleaning stuff for the kitchen. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you'd be better off to find out who is buying the kitchen stuff, and hopefully it's in a narrower market versus just saying cleaning supplies. And so I went down the road of like, if that person is selling organic cleaning stuff, they're probably into organic gardening or organic clothing for their baby or organic this, organic that, right? So now we went down that line. The product is just a byproduct for the actual market of what they're buying. But it just takes a little bit of switching how you're thinking about it. So I'm looking at how can I drop all these seeds in my market that lead people back to our brand, which then can buy our products, but also could buy other products that I don't even sell right now, right? And so and because I can be an affiliate for them. And I always use the example of bass fishing, but let's say that I was talking about catching bass and, kayak bass fishing. I don't want to sell kayaks, but I could sell other people's kayaks if I have the traffic. And people will pay me also to get in front of that traffic. So to me, traffic equals money. Like monetization is easy. The traffic is the difficult part. And it's not difficult. It takes time. And you also have to have the right strategy going into it. Like you're not just going out there and creating content to create content. You're creating it specifically to attract the right people that would be in line with your product or your services or even potential products that you want to promote or launch yourself. So does that make sense, Kev?
Yeah, it does. And I like the analogy of the seed. So like outside right now in front of our house, we've got a couple little flower baskets or pots, I should say. And every time I go to Lowe's with the kids, I always want to pick out seeds. And so we've got some flowers that are planted. Now, granted, right now it's like little tiny green things that have kind of come up through the surface, but there's no flowers yet. But the flowers will eventually get there, but it just takes time. So I have to remind the kids it takes time. So it's kind of the same thing you're doing with the content. So what are some things you could do to make sure that you are putting the right seeds for the right person out there?
Well, I think it starts with questions. So I have three buckets. So I start with questions is the very first thing. And the question could be, can you use rubber worms to catch bass? Like that would be a question, right? It's a simple question. And you could say, well, Scott, you would say yes or no. No, you would say, yes, it can, but you need to make sure it's this length or this size or this type. And then you would elaborate on why a bass is attracted to that type. And then the pros of using this, the cons of using this. So you can turn it into an educational piece off of that one question. But if someone is searching for that question, I think you and I would agree that they're probably interested in catching bass.
Right. It's a very bass specific question.
If I am selling bass lures or bass fishing poles or anything related to that, there's a pretty good chance that they might buy something from me. And if not, the advertisers on my website are getting in front of the right person that then I would serve up the right ads to the right people for the advertisers or sponsors. Or again, so many people in the e-commerce world, they limit themselves to only the products that they're sourcing. So Kevin, you've launched multiple products. I've launched multiple products. It costs a lot of money to launch products. You're generally not going to make money out of the gate by launching a product. You got to go through the whole launch process. We got to have a good product. We got to put it out there. We got to ramp up the pay-per-click. We got to drive our own traffic to it. Maybe run some Facebook ads and just start to really get the sales coming in. So, we all know that. But how many of them can you do in a row? Are you going to do 3 of them at a time? That's going to probably minimum $5,000 each. That's 15 grand, 20 grand, right? But what would it be like for you to be able to say, you know what, the whole catalog in the bass fishing world is mine. I can go find all the top products that I'm not even going to source right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and start writing content about the pros and cons of these different products. So now I'm into doing product reviews on my site that I'm not going to sell. And now the other cool thing is then if people start buying through my link, I get paid. And I start to learn what my audience is buying. And then I can decide if I want to actually go out there and private label that product. So I don't know. To me, it just seems like a no-brainer. Like, how does that not make sense, right? Like, I mean, it's so common sense. Like, I would think that would be a great idea. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm teaching. The days of like taking a product and launching it and having a 7-figure business, to me, those are long gone. And if you get one, good for you. I still wouldn't bank on it because there's going to be like 10 other people coming right on your heels. That's going to rip you off unless you have a patent, and then you have to have a patent attorney that's going to fight it. Right.
Right.
Anyway, that's my rant on that.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like to your point, if you have a 7-figure product, and I know I've seen people who have products that are, multiple 6-figure a month products. Well, guess what? Everyone else is putting in filters and Jungle Scout or their favorite sourcing tool and sees that too. So they're all gunning for that particular product. So you mentioned questions, and I like that because you're kind of thinking of like, what would they ask? So how do you come up with what do you use to come up with the questions to figure out like what your target audience
Yeah.
is looking for at.
Yeah, it was funny this morning on our little coffee talk. I actually went into my computer when I was on like this little thing here, and I shared my screen and how I was doing it. So basically, it starts with number one. If you're in the market yourself, you kind of probably already know that there's 5 questions, right? But
Mhm.
an easy way to do it is if you are in the bass fishing market, you would just go to Google and type in either how to catch more bass and then let it autofill, or it can
Mm.
be, can you use um, rubber worm and then just see what happens. It might say to catch bass. It might say to catch trout. It might say to
Right.
catch this. It might say to catch that. It's going to give you all that. A really cool way to do it is there's a tool called Answer the Public. And if you go to Answer
Okay.
the Public, it'll create all these prefixes for you. It'll be like you, can, what. It'll add all them, and it'll give you this beautiful map. It's like a mind map of all these different keyword ideas, or you can just put it into a data spreadsheet. But that right there, like if you, whatever market you're in, I encourage you to do that to see what are the questions that people are asking, and then you can show up as being the answer. Like to me, that's what we've done for like 75% of the content we've been creating in these brands is all basically question and product based. There's some how to, but a lot of it is question or this versus this. Because whenever someone's searching for something, they're looking for this versus this. So if you are in the bass fishing world,
Mhm.
there's probably a bunch of different fishing rods, right?
Right.
So it could be like the K5000 versus the D Rock 522. And if that's your market, you know that brand of rod is probably getting searched for along with the other one, and people are doing a comparison. So why not do a roundup post of like this versus this example based post? And then all you're doing is you're just giving them the information. Now, a cool way to do that would be you'd buy both rods, have them with
Mm.
you, and you would do the reviews yourself. Do it on video, post it on YouTube. Take the video, transcribe it, get it edited, put it up on your blog. Now you got 2 pieces of content. Embed the video on the blog. Now we've got a little cross pollination there. So all of that, to me, that's the way to grow organic traffic. You're not doing anything black hat. Years ago, and even to this day, there's people black hatting everything. Amazon, eBay, Google, right? Like everybody's finding a hack or a shortcut. I personally wouldn't do it. We haven't done any backlinking strategies. And if this doesn't make sense to anyone, it doesn't matter. Just understand that years ago, you could take backlinks, like a link pointing from one site to another, and then it would help you rank. And then what people were doing is they're building their own little blog networks of sites, and they were
Right.
outlinking to their own sites to drive up rank. Google became wise of that. Then they have a Panda update and they smack them, and then you're ranking here, and then boom, you're gone overnight. We don't do any of that. So really, what we're doing is creating content that the market is searching for, and then also content that would be shared by someone else that's in the market that would say, hey, this is a really good post about this. I mean, it happens all the time. Even in my academy, there's people that are outlinking to YouTube videos that aren't even from me, right? They're just like, hey, this is a really good video that shows you how to set up this one WordPress plugin. You should go check it out. And then they go check it out. That person is getting, basically, if they point it from their website, they're getting a link pointed over to that video. That helps, right? So
Mhm.
that's it in a nutshell, really, as far as like content goes.
Gotcha. Now, do you reach out to other creators in that similar space, or you pretty much stay in your lane and just keep planting seeds?
I mean, in the beginning, Kev, I mean, it's about just producing. It's producing.
Mhm.
Like a good friend of mine now, it was Jesse from Still over on Chase the Craft.
Mhm.
He started his YouTube channel by him just documenting how he was learning how to distill alcohol, and that was it, right?
Mhm.
So he came up with this thing like, I'm just going to go ahead and just produce one video a week. I'm going to commit to that for a year. If I get 500 subscribers, great. Then I'll say I'll keep going. If I don't, then I'll know that it's not probably worth keep going. But he's going to give himself 12 months. He did it,
Mhm.
and he had 16,000 subscribers in a year, already making $1,000 a month. That was first year. And then now he's been doing it for 3 years. He's grown quite a bit. He's over 50 some thousand, probably even 60,000 by now. But it all came down to showing up consistently and staying the course. And so my belief is it's about being consistent and committing to the process. and not overthinking it and not being a perfectionism. You know, so many people get hung up. Oh, I can't write good. Oh, I can't be good on video. I can't do this. I can't do that. Can't. You know, it's like, just
Right.
do something, right? Like, something is better than nothing. And that's my mentality. Like, it's just, that's the answer to anything, I believe.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, you're not trying to try out for the New Yorker. You're writing content just to put it out there. And I'm sure you find your voice as time goes on and you get better at it, and you start you start getting feedback from people too.
Mhm.
And if someone says something mean and nasty, which most of the time people are more gentle than we think, your life is going to go on, and chances are they're just going everywhere online and saying mean, nasty things anyway. It's not really about you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. So, all right. So they want to start planting some seeds and putting in some content that's, answering questions and things of that nature. So what's kind of the medium to long-term vision, just so people kind of understand, like, okay, I'm not just planting seeds for the sake of planting seeds, eventually to have a garden, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think, the way that I look at it is it's kind of done in phases. So it's like, number one, a lot of people, even people right now selling their products. So people watching this on your channel, because you help people go international with their physical products business. So your audience is basically focusing on, how do I get my product to sell more? Right. So Kevin can take that same product, which is brilliant, by the way. You don't have to go do any more like product creation. You take that one thing and you get it out there more, right? You're spreading it out, which is great. But it's still in the mindset of, how do I sell more of this one product or two products or whatever it is, right? So what I think is, people need to know who their market is. Who are they selling to? That's what they don't know. Most people don't. They're like, I sell house cleaning stuff.
Right.
Okay. Who's buying it? Right?
House cleaners.
Yeah. House cleaners. Right. Like, okay. So I think people need to get a little bit more dialed in with their market, their niche, their niche. So depending on whoever is listening here, it could be niche, whatever. So I personally think that the step number one is, you got to know who your market is, who is buying it. And like I used that example before, if you're selling organic cleaning stuff, then you're probably going after the market of green. Like, I want to go green. I don't want to have the earth go downhill. I want to preserve it. I want to do solar power. I want to do organic gardening. I want to have natural clothing with no polyester. Like, all of this stuff, you need to learn who the market is and who's buying it, right? So for example, like, I'm sitting here and I've got a whole bunch of podcasting gear, and I've got this, like I showed you before, I got this little mic stand and stuff, right? Well, this mic stand or tripod could be used for anybody, right? But if someone was selling this, they would be smart to start going after either vloggers or going after podcasters, and the rest of the market will get there. But right now, we're going to only focus on that part of the market. So all I do is, would I just write content about this tripod? Oh, it's got great legs. So they're only 8 inches, and it's really sturdy, and it swivels nice, and this, that. What does this do? This allows me to record content that gets it out to the world. So what I need is more content that's going to help me become a better podcaster or a better creator, right? So that's where we're going with it. I want people to start thinking about their market. How do you help them outside of just that one product? And what does that product help them with? Right. And so, I mean, the fishing rod could be like, well, the fishing pole could help them catch more bass, but what does that do for that person? It makes them feel good. It makes them feel like maybe it's them fishing with their son on every Sunday or every weekend. And then you can tap into that. Or maybe it's the competitor that's wants to just be I want to win, right? Then you go after that part of the market. But the thing is, you got to know who the market is. If you don't know who the market is, you're just out there randomly trying to get anyone that's willing to buy. And if you got more concentrated and dialed in, you would sell more of your product, but you would also attract more people coming into your world. So anyway, in a nutshell, I think people need to figure out their market. Step one. Number two, What is their market searching for that you can show up and be a valuable resource to them before they buy? Okay. How do you become a resource to your market before they ever buy? Okay. So that's number two. And then in that, let's move on to number three. Number three would be like, okay, now that we know what they want, how can we get it to them? Where are they consuming content? Where are they searching? Are they searching on Google? Are they searching on YouTube? Are they searching on Pinterest? Right. So then I would start looking at those, and I look at those as evergreen platforms that allow me to set a seed and it will grow. And I'll also get benefits now, but a year from now, 6 months or 6 years from now, 10 years from now, versus if they're on Facebook, that's fine, but I'm not gonna live there because Facebook is a moving platform, right? Like it's not a searchable. You're not gonna go, you know what? I want to see how to catch more bass. I'm gonna go to Facebook. No, I'm gonna go to YouTube, or I'm gonna go to Google, right? And then you might find a Pinterest account that has saved a whole bunch of pins on how to catch more bass, right? And that leads me back. So the other part of this whole thing is then once we're in this area now, like we're okay, we know where our market's hanging out. We know what content we got to put out there to attract them. How can I speed this process up versus just letting the seeds kind of grow? How can I add a little bit of fertilizer to it? How can I get them a little bit more sunlight, right? And the way that I would do that is I would start to build an email list, because the email list now will help me amplify the content quicker. So if I have a new piece of content that I write and I put it up on my blog, I have to wait for Google to index it. It might take a week. It might take a month. It might take 6 months. Okay. But if I have an email list, guess what I get to do? Write an email and tell them about my new post. So if I have a list of, 5,000 people, I can send it to them instantly. The minute I'm done and it's ready, I can go, hey, just wrote this, this blog post on how to catch more bass in your pond. You should go check it out. Let me know what you think. Bye. And boom, you automatically got the power of being able to send those people over to a piece of content. So that would be that. And then the last part, and this is where I get in, the last part of this process is really monetization. Like, how do you have different ways to monetize it? Now, in the beginning part, when you're kind of like looking at your market as a whole, we're going to also look and see how can we monetize this market before we even go down this road, right? So if we are entering in a market, we're going to go, okay, let's see, are there ads running on another website that's already doing this, right? So we want to validate a website that's already down this road, that's already been doing this. And some people would say like, well, why would you want to do this, Scott? If people are already creating content, why would you create content? Because we can. And because, and because why not? Like, why not give them a better resource? Why not become a better resource? Right. And so we want to create, those pieces of content, but we also want to know that there's ways to monetize it. And the best way to do that is in the beginning part, we want to find a few websites that are already doing it, that are using ad networks, that are using affiliate offers, are using digital products, and are selling physical products. Like now they don't have to have them all covered, but if they're selling a lot of affiliate products, I could say, well, I could sell my own products then of those similar products, or I could sell other people's products, or I can run ads, or I can do digital products, right? So those are ways that we can monetize later, but traffic comes first. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point. So just out of curiosity to help people understand the vision of it. So right now, are you seeing an increase in traffic with these brands that you've created with everyone just kind of quarantined at home? Or are you?
Yeah, well, it's funny that you say that because we were already seeing traffic increase before this.
Okay.
Because we're at that 5-6 month mark. Whenever you get to the 5 or 6 month mark, traffic starts to increase. It's like 1 month, like we had 1 month, what was it, in February on the one brand, it was like 900-ish organic searches. Organic searches meaning that's how many unique people searched in a keyword and found our website. Well, the month after that, in March, we were just touching just under $3,000. Wow. 3,000.
That's a pretty big jump from 1 month
to the
jump. Next. Yeah.
Right. And I just did a podcast episode on it. It was like 250% increase.
Right.
Right. And the other brand that's just a little bit older than it, that one they're seeing like a 68% increase. But it's also because you're starting to get the the authority of your website because it's been out there longer. Google is indexing it more. You're starting to kind of take the breadcrumbs and really spread them. So like one keyword, and we can see this in the back end, one keyword could have brought, I don't know, it could have brought like 100 different searches from that, right? Because if you wrote on how to catch more bass in a pond, Google is smart enough to know that even though if someone doesn't type in that exact phrase, something close, they're going to link them over to that article or that piece of content because they're like, oh, we know this is, and also because the site itself in a whole is all about how to catch more bass, right? It's not just one outlier of one article that someone published. So as your content and your site gets more mature, you actually are able to rank for more keywords, even with the same amount of content, because Google is starting to learn your website as well. Right. So that's, I think, yes, we're probably seeing an increase in traffic, but I don't think it's all as much as you would think because we already started to see that hockey stick.
Gotcha.
But time will tell,
Well, and the nice thing is, it's almost like, I hate to say it, but like it was well timed. Like clearly you had no idea what was going to happen here, but it happened to work itself out. But there's those type of serendipitous things only happen when we, as you would say, take action.
That's right.
So that's good. So, all right. So for those that are, thinking about taking action on this, where would you suggest they go to maybe get more resources on this?
Well, it depends on when you're listening to this or watching this. If you're here live, then I'll give you that. But, right now we decided after Kevin, you've been part of our Brand Accelerator Live program and event. And after we got done with that event, we seen a need for people that wanted to build brands and focus on that like monthly, like together, looking over our shoulder. And so when we got out of that, that's when we decided that, we want to just go 100% in on building brands because that's what we're doing. Right. Like, and I told you off air on this, like I look at these pieces of, or these websites like pieces of real estate. They're just online real estate. And there's businesses, and I think you had Joe Valley on from Quiet Light. But there's people selling businesses right now from $5,000 up to $5 million, $10 million. And a lot of them are content sites. Okay? That means, basically they're just built out on content. So I look at like, this is a huge opportunity for us. And I've seen other people seen that vision as well. So that's where we decided to create what we call Brand Creators Academy, which we only open up around 3 to 4 times a year. We're currently open right now until tomorrow, April 10th at midnight. So we only open it for a week at a time. And the reason why we do that is because number one, we want to focus on growing our brands and building our brands and sharing that, and less time on promoting the thing, right? I've promoted things for years and it's a lot of work. I'd rather just promote 4 times a year and then help all the people that are in our community. So brandcreators.com, that's where the information can be found. If you're listening to this after the fact, you can still go to brandcreators.com and you'll find a brand growth validation checklist there. That there will give you, in a nutshell, how to validate your market, even if you're currently up and running right now, and show you the opportunities or not the opportunities because you don't have any, right? It'll kind of poke holes a little bit in your business, or if you're starting from scratch, it'll allow you to go down the path to see before you do anything as far as the opportunity for growth in traffic and in monetization. So that will be there for you, even if you're here after the fact and you're watching this months later. So brandcreators.com is where that will all be. So that's really what I'm focusing on right now, Kev. I mean, and like I said this in an email the other day, and I think I said it to you, regardless if I was teaching this is what I'm doing, right? So it just happens that I'm teaching it because I love teaching and I love sharing, but I'm doing this stuff every day because that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm building these websites, whether I'm going to build it to sell it or build it to hold. I'm going to build these, and then that I'm basically creating somewhat of a construction crew that's going to help me build these and then sell them or rent them. And you know my story. I recently bought an Airbnb, a lake property, which was a lot of money, and it's a lot of money to get started in that game. But I like that model versus buying a piece of rental property and then just doing a month to month, or I'm sorry, a monthly rental. Because I mean, I think you had Dustin on the show as well, who does real estate. He's got like 30 or 40 properties. And basically his whole mindset was like, I'm just going to invest, even if it's 100 grand into a property. And then if I can net like $400, $500 a month and the house is being paid down and it's building equity, that's a win. And it is. Problem is you need a lot of properties in order to make enough to live, right? So with the Airbnbs, those are really good because you can make a full-time living on just the Airbnb because you can just charge more. But I got to thinking, I can create my own little real estate empire, right? And I don't have to invest all that money, right? I'm going to invest some money, but not all that money. And the cool thing is I can get to $1,000 net on a online real estate property in probably 12 months, maybe 18 months. That's like getting a rental property to net $1,000 profit. And the cool thing is once you learn the process, guess what? You can do it again, right? So that's my mindset. That's kind of where I'm going. But to answer your question, brandcreators.com is where we're all kind of hanging out and doing our brand building stuff.
Yes. And I do have a link in the description as well for brandcreators.com. And I'll say this. So I've gotten to know you pretty well. And this is the type of stuff you geek out on.
Oh, yeah.
When, you're not in front of a microphone. Like right. This is normal Scott talking about creating stuff. And I think the analogy of you as a construction person and you as constructing websites is very similar. So whether it's putting windows on a house or building a house or putting blog content in, I think you kind of look at it the same way. And so you've created a process of how someone could, follow it, because it's kind of the same thing in construction. Correct me if I'm wrong, where you have kind of a blueprint and you follow the blueprint and you go from, you follow along with it. And then eventually you can build the house. So you're kind of showing people the same thing. So yeah, definitely check out brandcreators.com. So any other parting wisdom for folks as we wrap this up?
Yeah, just that, I know there's a lot of information out there on how to make money online and, how to be a millionaire and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what are you striving for, right? And I know, Kevin, you left your job about a year and a half ago now, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, it's been about a year and a half.
And that was a big step, big leap for you. But to everyone, it's different, right? Like maybe for someone, I need to make $75,000 a year, right? So basically you just got to create a plan to get to $75,000 a year, but once we start seeing like, $1 million in revenue and this, that, and the other thing, we're clouding actually what we're really striving for. So to me, you need to get clear on what you are trying to achieve. And then from there, just create the plan and stick to it and put the blinders on, because you're going to be distracted. You're going to have shiny object. Oh, look at that. I can sell t-shirts. Oh, look at that. I can sell mugs. Oh, look at that. I can sell this. Right. No, like figure out what you can do on a regular basis, what you'll get excited about doing. Now, me personally, someone asked me the other day, Scott, are you passionate about these brands that you're building? Not all of them. But I am passionate about the process. I'm passionate about building things. I love it, right? That's what fires me up. I love the challenge, and I love trying to replicate what we've done and seeing if it can work and if it can't work. If it can work, we keep doing it. If it doesn't, we learn from that, right? So the only thing that I would leave people with is just there's no shortcuts, okay? The only shortcut is like try to model someone or follow someone else's path. So that way they can be the flashlight. I talked about that this morning. If you're the flashlight for if you have someone that can hold the flashlight and lead you through the dark, you're going to get there without bumping into walls, right? So that's really, I would say, stick to a model, and from there, build out a brand that gets traffic. And then from there, diversify the revenue, not just with physical products. That would be my closing thoughts.
Love it. Well, thank you for coming on. I think this is really helpful info. We did have a couple of comments come in, such as Melanie. I don't know if you're still on, Melanie, who I believe is coming in all the way from the UK. So it's getting kind of late out there. So thank you for joining us, Melanie. And for everyone else that's on, and for those of you who are watching the replay, thank you for watching this. And want to wish you the best. All right. Thanks, Scott.
All right, guys, take care. We'll see you, Kev. Thank you.
Thanks.